Lots of comments have been made at council meetings about the city's regulation of weeds on private property. Comments made about the city's maintenance of weeds on public property. Last month, the mayor and some other council members asked that we schedule a study session to walk the city council through our method of enforcing weeds on private property, which Ms. Chavez is going to do here shortly. She's also going to talk about what some other communities around us are doing, and based upon that, we have some suggestions for the city council to think about in terms of our regulation of weeds on private property. And then Mr. Clements and Mr. Hoover are going to talk about methods and the challenges that the public works and parks and recreation departments have in maintaining the growing city that we're living in. So with that, I'll hand it off to Ms. Chavez.
Good evening.
Good evening, how are you?
Doing great. How are you doing tonight?
Good, other than that's a tough act to follow, so your trip to China and then onto weeds, that's a little challenging, but we'll do our best.
But much more important to us here.
Okay. Myself, Craig, and Sam will be doing the presentation, and what we thought we would do is just go through the few slides that we put together, and then after that give you an opportunity to ask questions and hopefully be able to answer those for you. What I wanted to do is to address the private property portion of the presentation. Just as a reminder, Section 8 of the Municipal Code covers the weed regulations. It has been in effect since June of 2005, and it currently says that weeds cannot exceed 6 inches in height on any portion of the property. Oh, I'm supposed to do this. Okay, this. Sorry about that. There are some exclusions set up in the ordinance for open space and for materials that are approved from the plant list and landscape specifications. There was a typo in the ordinance. It indicates that those are available in section 20-32. It's actually section 21-32. So we'll be working to get that corrected for anyone who is out there searching for that. And I also brought a few copies that are on the back table if anybody wants to see those. We also thought that in putting this information together that we would do some research with our surrounding municipalities to see how they address weeds in their communities. We found some similarities and some differences. It really varies from 6 inches to height up to 12 inches in height, and that information is provided for you. Some other differences, some municipalities make specific considerations for industrial and agriculturally zoned areas, as well as referring to building height or street orientation in terms of the height of their weed ordinance. In terms of enforcement, I didn't put slides in there, but we in neighborhood services break down the city in 12 districts. We assign an inspector to each district. They handle complaints, calls for service, and proactive work in those areas. We've to date issued a little over 500 notices for weeds and have done 28 property cleanups with our contractors for weeds for property owners or occupants who have not addressed the violations that we have recognized. So in terms of the ordinance and what we found with the surrounding municipalities, we are actually going to make a couple of recommendations to you. And that would be to change our ordinance to not exceed 8 inches in height for private property less than 1 acre in size. For property that is in excess of 1 acre, not to exceed 8 inches in height within 20 feet of a property line or within 20 feet of any public road for any private property in the city. Those recommendations, we're suggesting that those changes will be part of the municipal code rewrite, which hopefully will be coming to you later this year. And with that, I'm going to turn over the presentation to Rick.
Thank you.
Sherry, Ms. Chavez, could you
Yes.
wait just a second?
On the lots larger than 1 acre, after the first, what was it, 20 feet, is there a minimum height after that point? So you can have 8 inches to here and 4 feet in the back and the inside, or?
Basically, that is what we're suggesting. In doing research with municipalities, they basically want a perimeter done around the entire parcel of land, and that's to go with that 20-foot requirement. Public Works will go into more detail about some of the work that we're doing in terms of our open space, larger lots, things like that. But what we are saying is that they have to establish that perimeter, and then inside that perimeter, it can be any height.
And never has to be cut down. So
Technically,
you could have an agricultural lot that would just, the outside 20 feet would be cut for visuals, and the inside would just be what it is.
that's correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Cole.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and members of council. Program goal for the public property and right-of-way maintenance program is to provide the highest level of service possible with the resources available. We discussed at the advance earlier this year that WEEDS was a very visible program with the city and very basic. We've been providing the service for, it's a basic service of the city. We challenged the staff this year to do a thorough review of the mowing program. There's been a lot of changes in the last couple of years, changes in priorities and changes in conditions. And we wanted to look at how the addition of all the additional roadsides that have been taken in the city, along with the open space and other properties like future park sites and school sites affected the situation. I'd like at this time to commend Sam Hoover and his staff for their review of the whole program. This is a major overhaul. It resulted in some revised mowing plan for 2008, which I handed out about a month ago, and I've given each one of you at your desk another copy. I think you'll find that this is a good example of the old axiom, do more with less. We've added substantial increases in area cover without the subsequent resources to handle that. So there had to be some prioritization and adjustment for that situation. We also took into account that this program needs to be sustainable in the future. We're going to be adding more and more open space. Hopefully roadsides will be reduced with development, but that'll be some time. So the roadsides need to be continuing in that program. This also had to be balanced with all the other program responsibilities that this unit has, many of which require work at the same time. It's not like you can go from one thing to the other. Everything happens at once, such as asphalt repair, speed cut maintenance, gravel roads need work, crack sealing, storm sewer drainage work, traffic signs, striping, all of that work happens at this time of year. Bridges, street cleaning. This unit also manages the refuse collection contract and the mosquito control. Obviously, we do an ongoing review of this program every year, looking for strengths and weaknesses, changes, and that sort of thing. Council input is definitely desired, and we'll be working on this and other programs through the budget process. Sam Hoover is here to do an overview of some of the changes